voices and knew the king and the others were still alive. Gradually, the light returned, and I could see a stone room lit by dozens of candles, and I realized the mage had transported us to safety. There were no doors or windows in this strange room, yet the candles burned brightly. It was circular like the insides of a child's play ball, but constructed of smooth white stone, and I suddenly found it hard to draw breath. My heart pounded in my chest, and I wanted to claw at the walls like a coward. I thought the mage incompetent, and that she had teleported us into danger. I knew she saw it in my eyes because she frowned for a moment, then laughed in my face and turned away, dismissing me like a bothersome insect. The king and his generals were gathered round a mirror that was as tall as Stokan himself. By its surface was a pulsating mercury gray, reflecting nothing. The mage started muttering in her arcane language, and the glass shimmered and cleared, revealing a nightmare scene from hell. I felt like ants were crawling under my skin as I caught a glimpse of the palace forecourt. Impossible. It could not be. Dozens of broken bodies had been thrown about like savage dolls, and the blood was dried and black on their splitting, putrefying skin. Fat, droning flies and other flesh-eating insects hovered and settled on the corpses, and they were easily disturbed by the tiniest breeze. The huge marble columns had been torn from their pedestals and smashed like matchsticks, and most of the ceiling was scattered in chunks amongst the wreckage. Even now I could not speak. My tongue was like dried leather in my mouth, and for the first time I felt fear. King Stokan roared like a raging bull and raised a massive fist as if to smash the mirror, demanding to know what was happening. Surely we had only been in this stifling room for a few hours at most, and yet what we saw below appeared to have happened many days ago. Razin struck the mage with a clenched fist, knocking her to the floor, and she screamed and pointed at the mirror in terror. The destroyed forecourt was being gradually enveloped in an unnatural darkness, as though eclipsed by the shadow of a titan. I heard Miriam's excited intake of breath as she watched. Swarton and Clathrin kicked the mage roughly out of the way and crowded around the mirror, fascinated by the demonic sight before them. Towering above the palace itself was a monstrous sight, swaying with a rhythm only it could hear, and an appetite as endless as eternity. Azra, Kamora, Chaos, the Destroyer itself. It was known by many names, and it was one of the diabolic gods. The mage had not called this from the abyss. It was drawn by disturbances in time, and the ripples caused by bloody death and anguish. And it demanded sacrifice. The king and his loyal generals were mesmerized, as though listening to a soothing childhood melody. All I remember was hundreds, maybe thousands of gnashing teeth stained by crimson shreds of flesh, and a serpentine body that swayed like a hooded serpent. I couldn't hear over the shrieking and howling of the beast, and I thought the room in which we stood would shatter into pebbles and fall below into a gigantic maw. The king's eyes were glazed and wild, much like the fanatics and berserkers who inhaled the smoke of bitter weed in their fruitless search for enlightenment. And as he reached out and touched the mirror, his hand passed through the surface. His four loyal generals seemed to be stricken with the fervor of the gods as they fell to their knees and begged for the favor of Chaos incarnate. What followed became my constant living nightmare for the remaining years of my life. A swirling, raging wind drew the wreckage of the palace into a furious maelstrom, and a victorious scream split the air. The monstrosity below stretched its gaping mouth so wide I thought it would split apart. One by one, King Stokan, Miriam, Clathrin, Razin, and Swarton stepped into the mirror and fell, tumbling over and over until they were consumed by the god waiting below. I cried out in anguish as they were swallowed whole. The mirror exploded into a million tiny pieces, and I think my mind was shattered along with it. I awoke in total darkness, thinking I'd been completely blinded, but gradually the gloom lightened, and I saw that I had been returned to the caverns below the palace. My throat was raw. The first sounds I'd made in nearly 20 years were my screams for the king, who saw the bloodlust in me and allowed it to flourish like a festering wound. Many called him cruel, but I called him father. The mage was sitting across the room, leaning on the wall. She was staring at me with amusement, and I wanted to crush her like a bug, but I was weak, and in the end, it didn't really matter anymore. I dragged myself to my feet, and when I felt steady enough, I walked along the tunnels back to the prison. It was quiet, all the cell doors were open, and the prisoners were gone. The bodies of the soldiers lay where they fell, gnawed almost to the bone by rats. I continued on to the staircase, and as I opened the door leading to the upper palace, I knew there was no one and nothing left. Carrion birds flew high in the sky, but the bones of the dead were now picked clean. The palace was completely destroyed, and it had started to rain. The cleansing had begun. There was nothing there for me, so I returned to the prison, and it has been my home ever since. You were born here, my son, not a year after my king perished, and your mother felt the last kiss of my beloved axe upon her neck. Now the air grows chill, and I see a shadow at the door. Is it the Reaper? I am ready. See, I kneel before you and offer you my life. What's happening? Is it a dream or another nightmare? It's not the Reaper after all, but a vision of my king. He is standing over the body of an abomination, a demon of the abyss, and it looks as though they have just done battle. He raises his clenched fist above his head, screams his victory to the cursed gods. He was becoming one of them. The skies flashed red with his rage, and thunder rolls over the horizon. The generals circle him, but they are silent. One by one, King Stokan touches them on the forehead, and I see they are changed somehow. Lightning splits the sky, but I can't tell what is different, except that they seem to have grown taller. Stokan is holding what looks like a dagger up to the light. I don't know why, but for a moment, it might be a key, but for what? Miriam is standing with her back arched and arms outstretched. Stokan plunges the dagger into her chest. Unbelievably, a spiritual double of the blade remains as he draws it from her heart and places it in her hand. The light catches it, and it is an exquisite thing, unblemished by blood. It is too beautiful to be one of a kind. I wonder if it is. I fear the sacrifice isn't complete. Oh, my word. Okay. So that's actually kind of weird, though. So, wait. So, this is the note, right? Okay, so this has the same text as this. So that's actually kind of weird. Anyway. Ugh, I'm pretty much done. That's pretty much how I feel right now. That was an hour of reading kind of thing. I'm pretty much done. But we have to read one more thing. Hello, YouTube. Alright. So, I don't know what reward I want from this area. Or from this mod. I don't really think there is one. Is it not here? What? Why didn't it keep it here? Hang on, I'll be right back. Alright, there we go. Okay, so I wanted to test something out, and because I did that, this happened. So here's what it is, alright. So here's what this is. Okay, let's just go back a little bit. Alright, so here's what it is. Okay, so gold requirement, not applicable, but I do recommend level 10. It seemed like some of the enemies were leveled, so level 10 should be fine. This is supposed to say not applicable, but hey, it's fine. Initial gold requirement, not applicable. You don't really get any, you don't need any gold at the start. Modifiable gold requirement, not applicable. Again, you just dive in, right? Gold reward, not applicable because there's no quest that gives you gold right at the bat, right? Rewards, weapons. As you can see, like the Cursed Axe, the Soul Reaper, and Stokan's Blade itself, they're the weapons you can get during the adventure. The armor that I just kind of showed off, I don't know if you can actually obtain that legitimately, but we're not going to mention that too much, right? So there's that as well. The one thing that I do want to mention, though, is that on the final thing here, the selling item total gold accumulated 35k. The reason why I didn't just say like 50k and call it a day is because the items that I was able to obtain that is random, so like the ebony, the glass stuff, they have a very high value, right? So that kind of throws off the numbers just a tiny little bit. So I didn't want to affect the numbers by that much kind of thing. Anyway, let's go and take a look at the weapons, and then we'll just call it. So I want to talk a little bit about what I did, so that we can able to do whatever. Anyway, so here's the Cursed Axe. Kind of looks like it's like 3 axes in one. Hang on, I don't care if we break the character. Just I'm gonna equip it for a second. Equip the regalia, so at least we're wearing something. But yeah, but look, like we have the 3 axes. Is it steel axes or no? I mean, maybe. It kind of looks like it's steel. So like you have 1 axe here, 1 axe on the opposite side, and then 1 axe over here kind of thing. It's a pretty cool looking weapon. The Soul Keeper. Ooh, that actually does look really nice. What's the enchantment? Soul Trap for 15 seconds? Yeah, then this is just shock, 10 points. That's pretty interesting. Pretty good looking weapon, but yeah. Then we have Stokan's Blade. It looks okay. Doesn't look like the greatest weapon ever, but hey, it's a good looking weapon. It's not the best one though. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. Okay, so you might be wondering what I did, kind of thing. As you can see, I have no fame, no infamy, no bounty, blah, blah, blah. But yet, once I unequip this regalia, I'm going to do that just in case it resets it. You'll see I now have 273 fame and 4 infamy. So what did I do? Alright, so here's exactly what I did. So I wanted to do this for the influence script for like a really long time. And I figured that having the regalia might be like another way of being able to achieve my goal kind of thing of being able to do it. So I chose to add it to the regalia as well. So the idea is that when you equip the Dark King's armor, and by extension the regalia, so that would, because it makes sense a little bit, but don't draw too much attention to it, you have a sort of a split personality kind of thing, where the Dark King has its own influence kind of thing. So that when I talk to anybody else, it's like, oh, they're talking to a separate entity, right? Similar to how the Grey Fox's cowl works. So same concept, but different idea, right? Or same idea, but different ways of how I wanted to do it. So I had a little bit of issues at the beginning, because for some odd reason it wasn't doing what I wanted it to do, and then I realized that I might be doing it wrong, so I took a look at how the Grey Cowl does it, and I figured out what I was doing wrong, so I ended up fixing it. So yeah. So now it works perfectly fine. As you can see, I'm able to retain my thing. Actually, I don't know about bounties yet, so let's go take a look at that. Alright, buddy. There you go. So we just committed murder, but if I were to unequip the regalia...
Something to report?
Yeah, alright. So you don't recognize that I've murdered the guy, because I'm not the Dark King. But as soon as I put this on...
Stop right there, criminal!
Yeah, it works! Alright, there you go. That's awesome. Yeah, it works. It's amazing.
Why won't you die?
Because you're not fast enough to catch me, buddy. So that's awesome. So now that that works, what I'm going to do is this, okay? I'm going to go through all the mods again, wearing the regalia kind of thing, or wearing whatever. I'm going to grab whatever the final number is, so whatever the infamy and fame is kind of thing. Going to go through what I've chosen for each and every mod. So if I've chosen to be the good guy kind of thing, does that make sense? Then I'm going to go and do it, right? Like if I chose, let's say if I chose to, let's say, use the well of the Minlarada or not kind of thing. Let's say if you use the well, you get like 30 fame kind of thing, and if you don't, you get like 10 infamy kind of deal. Then like obviously we'll go with what the best route is kind of thing, or what route I've chosen to be like canonical kind of thing, right? And then we're gonna find out what our fame and infamy is. And the idea is this pretty much, right? So if I were to use, let's say, my normal, like, everything, right? That means that at any given time, I can use this weapon if I really wanted to. And this weapon is really, really powerful. But I wanted it to be more of a, hey, let's do some mod quests kind of thing. And if a quest doesn't give you any fame or infamy because, like, the mod creator didn't do it, I'll probably add something based off of it. Like, that makes sense, though, right? Like, if you've been, like, a good guy kind of thing, and you squashed the power that was evil kind of thing, or whatever, you get, like, some fame kind of thing, or something like that out of it. I don't know. Hopefully, people are at least a little bit clever with how they distribute fame and infamy during their mod quests. So, yeah, so after Xilestar 2, which will be literally right after this.
Stop!
Okay, buddy. I'll go ahead and run around, kind of thing, and doing every mod kind of thing. I don't know if I should base everything off of like what the requirements are as well. So because like Knights of the Nine Revelation requires you to play Knights of the Nine, should I count all the fame you've obtained through Knights of the Nine as well to it or not? I want to keep it towards mods for now. Just so that way, though, like, something good happen, like, so that, like, it's like, here's what our current fame and infamy should look like, kind of thing. So, yeah. So, I'll see you guys next time for another Oblivion mod playthrough.